Hello and welcome to the Make Ideas Reality podcast. I'm Justin, aka the Garage Avenger. We all remember that one teacher that made school hell for us. An uninspiring, by the book, not giving a shit supposed teacher. They say that teaching is one of the most important jobs in the world, yet we have all experienced a teacher like this. What about risk? Are you one to overthink a situation, go through all the possible outcomes, then never pull the trigger? Well, today's guest, the Red Smith, a maker from southern France, talks about teaching and why it's so important, and how taking risk will always end with reward. Heaps to unpack in this episode. Let's get on with the show and let's do this. Hello and welcome to the Make Ideas Reality podcast. Today's guest goes by the name of Red. If he told me his real name, I'd probably be dead. He has a PhD, so you'd think it might be a little daft to get into something like leathercraft. What we do know is that he is French and a teacher at his core. What's that? He also speaks Japanese. Shut the front door. Welcome to the show, the Red Smith, otherwise known as
Yeah, now I have to kill you. You know, that's not supposed to be public. So yeah. But you said it right. You said it right. But you will have to bleep it. I mean,
are you serious?
Seriously. Yeah, no, absolutely not. How are you, Justin?
I'm well. Thanks for coming on the show, Red.
No, my pleasure.
It feels like this was overdue.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I have no idea. I mean, but I'm super happy to be with you and to be talking to you and your audience. Thanks for having me. Seriously.
You're welcome. Now, I think you and I both met like in person at Maker Central. I will again just say, like, face-to-face meetings make a big difference.
Yeah, sure.
We can all be online and be so chummy with each other, and it's great. But when we meet people face to face, something always sticks.
Yeah.
Now, I remember you read. We talked about a list of things. And there was just a good connection, and of course, I very much noticed that you're like this very calm, very well thought out type of person. And, then finding out later, your background, it makes sense. So people just get out there and start meeting people face to face. That's what I have to say, because this podcast wouldn't happen if me and Red hadn't met and talked face to face. So today we're going to be talking about two topics. We're going to be talking about teaching. And now, why are we talking about teaching? Well, I kind of alluded to this. Red is a teacher professionally, besides his YouTube teaching, and it's said by many people much smarter than myself that teaching is one of the most important jobs in the world. Red has dedicated his professional career to teaching, and he's seen it all: the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we're gonna delve into his story of teaching, and also teaching in a foreign country, and the lifestyle he led there, and how eventually he turned a need to get into making, which then will bring us into our next topic, which will be a risk. We've all heard it before: without risk, there is no reward. So playing it safe, you never get to achieve your dreams or aspirations. And Red is actively taking steps, similar to myself, to make a transition into making full time. And we're going to delve into Red's thoughts on risk and the sacrifices such as time, money, family, and social life, and how they have affected his ability to make risky decisions. So before we get into those hot topics there, Red. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself for those who may not know who you are?
Okay, yeah. So my name is Red. At least that's the name I go by on the internet. Yeah, my name is Red Smith. I'm French. I'm 44. I'm married and I have a kid. He's 6 years old. I live in the southern part of France. I've spent 10 years in Japan. I'm back in France. I came back in France like 4 or 5 years ago. I don't really know anymore because time is very strange here. So I can easily count the years I've spent in Japan. But here it's like a weird time zone. I don't know. And I'm a teacher. I've been teaching since I was 20, so it's been 24 years. And I'm a maker. I make a lot of stuff with leather, with steel, with metal, with wood, plastic, epoxy. Not that much epoxy, but it will come at some point. And I really just enjoy it because making is very important to me as much as teaching, and that's why I've now decided to be not a full-time maker but a part-time maker and part-time teacher. So I'm trying to split my time between teaching and making, and also making videos on YouTube and sharing my work or on Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff. But that's also part of teaching. I guess we'll go back to that later, but sharing my work is somehow a way for me to inspire people and to share my work. So and teach the things that I know. That's what made me start making videos for YouTube. I was making stuff and new stuff, and I wanted to inspire people and share the knowledge that I had. So that's the prolongation of my teaching core, as you said. And what else? What else can I do? Can I say? I like movies. And music and making stuff. That's pretty much it, I guess.
What are the main things you make these days?
Oh, these days I tend to make a lot of stuff just for me that I don't show on YouTube or Instagram, like tools, restoration, preparation, of tools, of small things around the shop to be more efficient. And right now I'm making gifts for friends or family because it's almost Christmas and there's some birthdays. So I'm making stuff for the people that I like and love. So yeah, a lot of leather work these days. And I just finished a big project to allow me to make swords. And so that's a gas forge, a big gas forge. I wanted one for like 2 years. And I finally finished it. I started a few weeks ago. It took me way more time that I have planned to spend on it. But that's always the case with my project. I have this stupid idea of doing something. It's not going to take so long. And it ended up taking weeks because, I can't just stop there and do, it's good enough. I try to make it better and improve the idea I had. It's not even close to perfect, but I'm happy with the results. So, yeah. So this gas forge allows me to fulfill my long time dream to one day make swords and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's like the story of my life with every single project. It always takes longer than expected.
Yeah, exactly. And plus you have to wait for the glue to dry and then the paint to dry and the varnish to dry. And adds up to the time you're spending on it, and you're too excited to work on something else in the meantime. So but that's part of the fun in a project. I mean,
yeah, well, let's face it, we're not a business here. It's very often like, we're not mass producing stuff. So
no, yeah, sure.
So we don't have the next thing lined up to go before we, whilst we're letting that thing dry.
No, but my way of doing things is always to have 2 or 3 projects running in the same time. So when something is running, I can usually get to the second or third project and work a little bit on it, and save time basically. But this project, the gas forge, was so I don't know how to say that. It was very motivating. I was deep in it, like really thinking about it all the time, and I couldn't do anything else aside from this project. So yeah, from the morning to the evening, I was working on it because I wanted to I was excited to finish it. I wanted to get it done. So yeah, it was a big project. I usually spend a few weeks on one big project every year. I guess this one is the big project of 2020. So yeah, gas forge, laser stuff, small other nonsense, but I'm busy. I'm tired. To be honest, I'm super tired. So I have no idea where this show is going tonight.
Well, let's let me worry about steering it.
You're the boss.
Let's talk about teaching. Now, I always find it interesting. Often you can see the sort of ties between teaching and making, because we are like. I'll tell you something. In one of the drafts intros, I used the word skills whore in it, and I decided I was going to take that out because it was a bit too much. But I
that's
feel
an interesting word. No, but yeah.
But I think we as makers are skills whores. Like we just love
absolutely.
Like, oh, what's next? What's next? So like. Right.
Maybe we can use the word skills collector or something like that.
Yeah, I like horror. It's
I like horse. Yeah, roll with it. No, yeah, I totally get the idea, because I share it with you. The more skills we have, I guess I can say we in that case. The more skills we have, the happier we are, because we are able to do something new and we can reuse that skill later in the future for another project, and just be proud of the knowledge we have, the things that we know and we learned with a project or something. That's absolutely something I can relate to, and that's part of teaching. I mean, that's the learning side of teaching, but that's exactly it, I think.
Where did this all start for you? Like teaching, was there someone that taught you as a young guy, young boy, like to get your hands involved, or was it like always like a what do you call it? What's the word? Damn you, English, come back to me. University sort of education?
No, nothing to do with university. It all began a long time ago with my grandfather and my father, I guess. When I was a kid, I was same as my son, 6 years old. And my father and my mother were building this house, the house they are living in right now. They bought the house with basically 4 walls and a roof, basically, and they did everything in it. So as a kid, I've always seen both my parents, more my dad than my mother, obviously, because she was more into taking care of the kids, me and my older sisters. So sister, I have only one, so no S. Damn English. Wording is hard. My dad was, both of my parents are teacher. So that's something to take into consideration when we are talking about teaching and how I got into that as well. But yeah, I've always seen my parents when I was a kid working around the house, making stuff, building stuff, improving the house, and they basically build it themselves. Around aside from the roof and the four walls, they did everything by themselves: electricity, plumbing, installation, decoration. They did the everything. So I was into that world of makers very early on. I mean, I've been surrounded by people making stuff my whole life, starting with my parents and my grandfather. So it's I guess it's in the blood, if I can say so. So it started there. As a kid, I was making stuff with my parents. I was trying to help when I was able to. But I was also making stuff in the garage with cut pieces of woods, of metal, and I was tinkering in the garage when my dad was not looking, because I was not really supposed to, I guess, for security reason. I was a bit young, but it was fun. It was very fun. And after that, I was tinkering in my room. I was doing stuff in my room, a lot of drawings, a little bit of experimentation with sculpture, and I'm really bad at it. So I'm not doing any right now because I know that I'm bad at it. I would like to improve that skill, by the way, but yeah. And then I had to stop making stuff because I had no time to do so because of my studies. I was graduating high school, so I went to the university, and it was serious business. I took it very seriously. I wanted to be a teacher. I knew that I wanted to be a teacher, so I was starting a long process of getting the highest degree I could get, basically, in order to become a teacher. So yeah, I went to the university for many years. Got my degree, got my PhD, found a job as a teacher in France, starting teaching, so prepping the class, prepping the lessons, prepping all the materials for the student, then the exam, the tests, the grades, everything was taking a lot of time, so no time for making, basically. And then I went to Japan, and same thing, long working hours, no real free time aside from the weekend. And one day my wife told me, okay, go make something, and maybe I will explain a little bit about that later, but she got me into it, and she put me back to it, so to say. And I never stopped ever since. So it was like in 2007 or 8, so it's been 12 or 13 years that I've always made something at least once a day. I mean, working on a project every single day since 2007 or 8, thanks to my wife, because it was a need. It was a real need to use my hands after so many years of not doing so, and of using my head, just my head, for work as a teacher. It was something I really, really needed to relax, take my mind out of my job or stuff like that. So it was a good way for me not only to relax, but also to reflect on some stuff, to breathe from work, from a very busy life in Tokyo also. So yeah, it was very cathartic. I'm not even sure that's a word in English, but therapeutic. I don't know how to say that.
Therapeutic, yeah.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Thank you. Yeah, that was the starting point, and now it's just going on, and my wife is still supporting me and buying my tools before I even need them. So she's absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
Does she just like shopping? Is that why she's just buying you tools?
No, absolutely not. She's the opposite of that. She doesn't like shopping, but she likes to make me beautiful gifts that are useful, or even not useful. The last gift she made me is the last Assassin's Creed Valhalla game. I don't even need to shop for my own video game now. She buy them for me before I just think about buying them. So she's the best wife I could even dream for. So yeah, she's perfect for me.
Now, I remember in
so yeah, that's the beginning of the story.
I remember in our pre-podcast, you talked about being sort of raised in a hardware store. Do you think that's really influenced the way you think about things fitting together and components and
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm sure of that. But when I was younger, my parents were building this house, so like almost every single day after school, we had to take a trip to the hardware store. And if it was not after school, it was in the weekend, so we can buy materials and screws and glues and paint and wood and steel and everything needed to build this house. So yeah, and I remember the smell. That's very weird because in my area, at least, all the hardware store smell the same. There's the same smell in every hardware store in the region. And now when I get back to for my own projects, when I go back to this same hardware store, the smell is the same. So it's a weird feeling to be now 44 and go back to this hardware store I was going when I was like six or eight, and having the same feeling. I feel at home in a hardware store. You know what I mean? Because the smell is the same that I remember it to be. The other day I was at the hardware store. I was searching for, I don't remember what. It was some kind of paint, I think. And a lady behind me was telling her husband that, no, it's not here. I can't find it. So obviously she was searching for something. And she asked an employee of the hardware store, where is the thing I'm searching for? And the guy was not able to answer to this customer, to this girl. So I turned around and I said, it's 2 aisles behind you, because I know the hardware store so well. Because I used to go like every day when I was a kid, and I go like very frequently now. So I was surprised to like realize suddenly that I knew this store better than the employee of the store. So it was kind of weird, and I said to myself, I need to stop coming here, because that's not good. I have to spend more time at home and not in our hardware store. But yeah, I spend so many days, hours over there. It's I know now knowledge. I have now knowledge that I couldn't have if my parents didn't drag me to the hardware store when I was a kid, and for very practical reason now I'm able to fix things because I know how it works. I know the hardware available in the stores. I know some of the products my parents used for the house and stuff like that, so I can use them in my own project if need be. So yeah, I was raised in the hardware store for sure, absolutely.
Yeah, because that's what I was kind of thinking about, is like you knowing what's out there in the store maybe helps you with solutions to problems that you're encountering when you're making things, right? Like, oh, I don't
Absolutely.
know how to come with this. Like, I need something that's gonna fit there. And you're like, oh, I remember they sold this at the hardware store, right? So
Yeah.
it's like that can all of a sudden just work.
Yeah, the only problem I have with the French hardware stores are that I watch a lot of makers videos on YouTube, a lot of friends of mine, and when they use something in their project, I think to myself, that's a really cool hardware. That's nice, like barrel hinges or stuff you can hide inside pieces of wood. And I think I would like to try that for one of my projects. But when I go to my local hardware store, there's nothing like that. The difference in the hardware that you can find in the US or in the UK and the hardware you can find around here is huge. I mean, there is such a lack of imagination and there's basically nothing in the hardware store here. There's a lot of stuff, but not the things that I've seen in videos or that I want to use. So knowing what's in there is a good way for me to find a solution, a replacement to the hardware I would like to use for my project, and I can't find here if I don't order them online and pay a lot of money for just shipping. So
we have the same problem in Norway. It's exactly the same. Yeah, like you go to the store and you're like, is this all you got? Like, come on, like, really? And so you end up going online and you pay a ridiculous amount for shipping, and then you pay taxes to come in for a little hinge or something you needed because they didn't have it at the local store. It's so
just an
crazy.
example. Wood glue. I mean, every single maker you watch making woodworking on YouTube is basically using two types of glue. It's either Gorilla or Tide-Bond. And Tide-Bond, you have three different glues: the blue, the red, and the green one. 1, 2, 3. When you go to a French hardware store, there is no such things as Gorilla or Tide-Bond. There is a white wood glue, and that's it. That's it. It's for any kind of wood, any outdoor, indoor. It will work for everything. So you basically don't have choice. But it kind of works, but it's not as sexy as a good bottle of Tide-Bond 3, for example. So,
well, at least it doesn't look the same on camera, does it? Amazing.
Exactly. I mean, you can just take a look at the glue bottle and you know where the maker is from. You can know just looking at that.
You know what you need to do is just like import an empty bottle or make your own Tide-Bond bottle that put the shit glue in.
Yeah. I will do that.
Oh man. Let's talk about your teaching stuff. I said we were going to talk about teaching. Now you've got a PhD in French.
No.
And not
in French. I have a PhD in Japanese, actually.
In Japanese, that's what the tie is to Japan, right?
Yeah, in Japanese studies, as it is called. But I have also a bachelor degree in teaching French. So I have done both. My goal at the beginning was to teach Japanese, was to teach French in Japan. But the first job I got when I graduated university was teaching Japanese in French university. So that's the starting of my professional career as a teacher. Then I got for the job in Japan and went there and started teaching French over there. So yeah.
What was the fascination with Japan? Why Japanese?
What was the what?
What was the fascination with Japan?
Oh, the fascination. When I was a kid, do you know the TV show Shogun?
Well, I'm not a big anime fan, so no.
That's not an anime. It's an old TV show. It's a
Okay.
really old TV show with the main actor was Richard Chamberlain, if I remember correctly. Basically, it's the story of a Dutch sailor in the I don't remember the century, but it should be around it was the end of the 19th century. And the guy, there's a shipwreck. He find himself in Japan. He shouldn't be here. He know nothing about Japanese culture. He know nothing about Japan. He know not the culture of the world, nothing. And he starts living there because he has no choice at the beginning, but he gets friends with powerful people by showing that he's a good man, worthy man, he has a good spirit for the Japan of that time, that period. And that's the story of that guy. And there was this TV show on TV when I was like 8 or 10. Every Sunday night, one new episode, and it was like something else, new world, something I've never seen on TV, like samurai, sword fighting, total different landscape. The language was beautiful to my ears. So that was like, what's that? What's the country? I want to know more about it. And for a time when I was a kid, I was trying to learn just a little bit more about Japan. And then life, other stuff, other topics come up in school, and you kind of forgot about it. And just after I graduated high school, I had no idea what I was going to do. My specialty in high school was physics and mathematics, math with an S. So scientific side of things, but I was hating chemistry. It was just the worst thing for me. Chemistry was just like the plague. So I wanted to avoid any scientific studies at that time. So I decided to learn English a little bit. I'm still a suck at it, but that's okay. I can communicate, so that's good enough for me. And then I was spent 1 year in the army because I was sure that I wanted to start studying Japanese, but I didn't want to. It was mandatory at the time, so at some point I would have to stop my studies, my research, and my curriculum, everything, to spend 1 year in the army. So I did that for 1 year. And then I started my Japanese studies, and it was like a straight road from that. I get back to everything that I still had in mind and what I loved about the culture, the language, the art, the spirit of the people, history, the aesthetic, the everything. I there is not one single thing that I hate about Japan. There's things that I dislike or don't agree with. But if you know the country, if you know the people, if you know the history, it's all obvious. It's just logical. So it's also part of the charm of Japan. I mean, not the. I'm not absolutely not talking about the bonds they had with Nazis during the war and before the war and everything, all the shitty stuff and the monstrosity they did in China and over Asia in the 30s. But all Japan, modern Japan, the culture, the people, everything is likable. So yeah, I was back at it, and it's still with me. I spent 10 years over there. I often say to my students, Japan is a country you will love or you will hate, and you will know which one is it after 2 weeks.
Yeah,
being there. So In my case, it was like story. So so Japan, PhD, teaching, went there, spent 10 years working a lot, and I was actually working a lot. My days were hectic, if that's a word as well. Early morning, taking a bus to get a train, 1.5 hour of commuting to get another train, then get back to work after a 20-minute walk. So leaving the house around 7 o'clock, getting there around 9:30, starting work at 10, finishing work at 11 at night, back at home at 11 at night, doing stuff around the house like dishes and shopping and stuff, because you can shop any hour of the night or day in Japan, which is great, very practical. A few hours of sleep, and here we go again. Next day, same thing. But the good part, the fun part, the rewarding part was the teaching. From 10 a.m. till 9 p.m. I was teaching. And I was teaching any kind of students. Like my youngest student was 7. My oldest student was 93. And I'm still amazed that 93, this young lady, because she had a very young spirit, was still going to school every single day to learn French. That was just so amazing to me. Long days of work of teaching, and that was great. I loved my job as a teacher over there. But the living in Tokyo is tiring. Commuting is the worst part of any side of living in Japan. I mean, it's hell. You know, you often hear about Japanese people being very respectful and polite, and you know, that's true. But when it comes to commuting for work, you're on your own, man. There is no rules anymore. In the train, is just fight for your life and for a seat, but for your life as well. When you take a subway around 8 a.m., the wave of people will crush you against the window, and if you don't push back with all your body and your strength and your mind, you will suffocate, man. So you have to push back. So that was the fun part. Commuting in the morning was always so much fun. So I did that for 10 years, and it was great. I also taught for a few years when I was in France before Japan, and I was teaching Japanese history, Japanese culture, phonetic, the writings, translation, every aspect of the language. And it was great because my students were great as well. Very different kind of student, very French sound about homeworks and hard work. But it was super fun, and I really enjoyed my years as a teacher here and there. It was great. I loved it.
Let's get into the hot topic. Teaching is not for everyone. Teaching can be done very well, and teaching can also be done very poorly. And I think we've all experienced one of those teachers where they weren't probably suited for the job. Because teaching is not just about like delivering a syllabus, right? It's about connecting with your students, looking at each of their individual needs to see how you can translate what the syllabus is to something that they can relate to and get stuck in their head. And so many people work on so many different ways of learning. So a lot of us probably learn a lot more by doing than like reading or watching. So, we watch and maybe like mimic it as makers. What do you think, from your experience, considering you've probably worked with some of these people as well, what makes a good teacher?
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. Teaching is not for everyone, first, and there is a lot of great teacher, and by great it doesn't necessarily mean that they are full of all the knowledge in the world. They are dedicated to their students. They are willing to improve the class, the way of teaching, and everything. Everything, all of that. But there are also a lot of people that are not suited for the job, and they shouldn't be teaching, in my humble opinion. And it's not very hard for the students to know which one is which. I mean,
Yeah.
we all had great teacher. I had a few great teacher in high school and in college, and I had a lot of bad teacher. And oftentimes bad teacher are just tired teachers. They are tired because it's a lot of work. They are tired because there is no recognition of their work. They are tired because they are not paid well enough. But they still come to work every single day and they do their best to teach to the children. And that's the real good teacher for me. As you said in your intro, for me, teaching is probably one of the most important job in the world. I mean, in my hierarchy, first come the doctors. Like, you're saving people's lives, and there's nothing that can be compared to that. So doctors, and after that, firefighters and cops and stuff like that. You are also saving people. So you're doing it in a different way, but you are helping people, saving people. I'm not going into the bad cop, good cop controversy, because there's a lot of conversation about that. But basically, a cop or a firefighter is here to help, or at least should be here to help. And after that, teaching is teaching has always been the reason why we are not living in caves anymore. I mean, knowledge has been given to the next generation, then to the next and the next and the next for thousands of years. So at some point you have to teach what you know to someone else in order for that knowledge to be kept and used again and passed on to the next generation. So we do that every single day with the people we know. As fathers, we do that with our kids when we show them how something works, or how to just tie your shoes, or I don't know how the microwave works. We are teaching. Teaching in a class is something very different because, I mean, it's a job. It's a job, so it can have all the bad aspect of a job, like the hours, early morning or late evening. You're not always every day, every single day, 100% invested in your work because you are tired, you have bad news, stuff like that. You're underpaid or stuff like that. But yeah, people teaching is good teacher are my heroes. I had a few great teachers when I was a kid, and that's also that's one of the reasons I wanted to become a teacher. And one of the other reasons is because I had very bad teacher, and I wanted to kick them out of the school. I wanted to take their place and be better at their job than they were, because they shouldn't have been teaching in the first place. Anyway, teaching is very important. There's a lot of way to do that. When a teacher is oftentimes you have in the university class where the teacher speaks and the student listen, and that's it. You just have to listen, you take notes, and what the teacher is saying will probably come up in a test later, so you just have to ingest the knowledge and you will spit it out for a test, for a good grade, for a degree later on. And that's probably not the best way to teach, in my humble opinion. I mean, knowing dates and names and stuff is okay. It's important, but that's not very practical, and that's not the kind of knowledge you can use every single day for your personal life or for your job, unless your job is just answering question in a TV show like Party or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, the part of the kind of teaching I'm more interested in is the training and the communication. I'm not sure if it's the correct way to call them, but training for me is the practical knowledge that you will give to a student when you tell him to do something, or show him or her to do something, and then let them make the stuff and correct their mistake as they go. And that's like a hands-on kind of really practical kind of teaching. And that's a great way to teach when it comes to craftsmanship, to working with your hands, that kind of stuff. Personally, I was more into communication in my classes. I want my classes to be a conversation with my students. I'm giving them information and give them knowledge, but why would I not listen to their question, their point of view? I'm more interested in having them think about what we are studying together than just listening and spitting out the knowledge for a test. I mean, I had to teach some difficult subjects in college because, as I said earlier, Japanese people in the 30s made some bad stuff, and I had to explain that to the student. And when they are freshmen, first year or second year students, they have this idea that Japan is like the paradise on earth. Everything is great, everyone is kind, and there is no bad side of the culture or the history. And you have to teach them, no, they at some point in history, they were pretty fucked up, and they killed a lot of people, and they did experimentation on Chinese prisoners. And you have to explain all that. So I was very interested in knowing what the students were thinking and wondering when we studied that together. So I was always pushing them to think by themselves, to ask questions, even if I didn't have the answer. I mean, asking a question is the first way to know better. If you're asking yourself a question, it means that you are curious. If you are curious, it means that you want to know more. If you want to know more, you will research, you will learn by yourself, and you will know more. Right. So yeah, that's a way of teaching that I used for the years I was teaching in college or private school. It worked pretty well. I think my students liked my classes, so it's not to brag, but it just proved to me that it works, and that's a good way to do it. I don't remember who said that. I think I know, but yeah, an American guy said that the teacher should be most well-paid workers in the world, because they are giving the knowledge that will be used for a lifetime by the students. I kind of agree with him. I know it's not going to happen anytime soon, but there is still a few countries where teachers are respected, well paid, and that's great. That's great to see. For me, a country is failing the next generation when it's not giving education all the way and means to make it successful. So
I find it interesting because, like, I think, we often talk about education being like academic, but what you were talking about just now, you're talking about like practical, communication. I mean, these are all ways of delivering, which makes the students think for themselves, which is actually just problem solving, right?
Yeah.
And I think we talk about problem solving all the time in the maker community with regards to what we do. Is like we just solve these little problems all the time to make things happen, right? And I think, I think a lot of us have got this idea that school or, and being a teacher is about just filling kids' heads with, facts. And we know from the American model that doesn't work at all. In fact, that's why their education system seems to be completely failing them.
I think you're absolutely right. There's a few political aspects on that matters that should be taken into consideration. I mean, Japan and United States are very self-centered country when it comes to education. So they are learning a lot about their own history and not a lot about the rest of the world. So you can ask that's why you can see videos of American students on the campus not being able to put France on a map, or Japanese student not knowing about who's the president of the United States at the moment, or stuff like that, because the knowledge is not presented to them. It's not even given. It's not even presented. So they don't talk about that on TV. It's not for them. It's not important, and that's the political matter, which is absolutely not in question in our conversation, but something to take into consideration. You're right. What were you saying just before? I got confused with the American and Japanese history stuff and political, because sorry.
Problem solving.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll talk about America just briefly. I mean, I don't live in America. I live in Norway. I was educated in Australia. We have different worlds. But when you put those people up on television and say, like, can you point out France for me, and they have no idea, it doesn't mean those people are stupid. They just weren't ever given the tools to understand.
Yeah,
and they may know things that we don't even comprehend. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they were taught something else that was more important for them.
Yeah. Right? It doesn't mean they are stupid. It doesn't mean they are not educated. But the comparatively, what we know, what they know, is just probably the same amount of things, but just different. And that's the choice of the educational system in both countries, or the government in both countries. So we probably have a big chunk of knowledge which is the same, but some things are different, and that's the way it has always been in the world. So that's not a problem for me. The problem is not to give these students tools to live their lives properly. So critical thinking, just train them to ask questions, to think by themselves, or to have just practical knowledge. I mean, when I was a kid, my grandfather taught me how to carve a stick, how to start a fire, how to hold a knife properly in order to not hurt myself when I was carving a stick, for example.
Yeah.
That was very, very practical knowledge. My grandmother taught me how to sew with just a needle and thread by hand. So it's probably not said sew, but because that would be so. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
That kind of practical knowledge is very important in order for us to just be comfortable with our lives. I mean, it's saving us time because we are constantly problem solving. You're absolutely right. When we are doing our project and we have trained ourselves to do that. We have a problem, we can analyze, we can try a few solutions in our heads and select the one that appears to us to be the best one and try it. And if it doesn't work, okay, that's not big deal. Failure is part of the process. So we go back, think again, and try it again. But some people are not trained this way. And that's, for me, the big problem of the education system in France. At least we are not given we are not giving the way and means to teach properly. We are not therefore teaching properly to the kids, and they don't have this practical knowledge, because all the classes where you teach something very practical to the kids, so it can be wood turning, can be how to become a machinist, how to fix a car. That kind of knowledge is taught to children that are supposed to fail in school. Right. If you are failing in school, we will push you to a shorter way to get a degree, and this shorter way become a mechanic, become a wood turner, become a painter, a plumber, stuff like that. And right now in the country, these people, plumber, painter, mechanic, stuff like that, are the ones that are making a very good amount of money, a lot of money, because people don't know how to do it anymore. So when you have a problem in your house, when you're you have flooding in your house because you're a plumber, because you know nothing about plumbing, and you have to fix it yourself, and you can't do it. You have to call a guy. The guy won't come, so you are the flooding worse, and you will call the guy again, and he will come, but it will be twice the price, so you will have to pay. If we had this very practical knowledge in the first place, it would be much easier for everyone. I'm not saying that everyone should be learning how to do the plumbing of the house, but a little bit more of practical knowledge, a little bit more of problem solving, a little bit more of communication, and the theoretical classes can't hurt.
Yeah, I find it really interesting because, you know, I worked for 6 months as an assistant teacher at a high school, and, you know, I was working with, you know, what they call it, snacking, construction kids, you know, majority of those kids they couldn't give a shit about construction. They had no interest at all, but they were filtered into that because they were no good at anything else. Now, one thing that I found super interesting was the fact that most of these kids didn't value themselves at all. They had been told in a system, and also possibly from their parents, that they were stupid and dumb, and they didn't have a place, and you weren't good enough to like be in a university or that sort of thing, which is not the case. It's just they believed it, so they were. And I found
exactly, they believe it because they have been told that so many times.
Right. And I, as someone that loves to be able to connect with people, you know, I saw a couple of these guys, and, you know, they were not interested. So I'm like, the teacher, he said, I can't get through these. I said, let me take them for a couple of lessons alone and see what I can do. So the first lesson, I just like we took a spare classroom. I sat them down. I said, "What do you don't want to be in construction? What do you want to do?" I'm like, I want to be a
Mm.
rapper. They said, I want to be a rapper. I'm like, oh yeah, cool, sweet. Like,
Mm.
you're writing beats, like like you rapping every day. Like, what are you doing? What are you practically doing to become a rapper? Oh no, nothing. Right. So I made them think
Yeah.
about it. It's like they had this dream. You need to do practical. You need to like take the risk, right? You need to start
Yeah.
taking those steps forward. And, that makes me think about what you and I have done in what we're trying to do with,
Mm.
being creative and making in our workshops. It's like, I'm trying to
Yeah.
take steps, forward to try and get to the place where I want to go. Now, I don't have a like,
Yeah.
pointy goal where like this is exactly where I want to be. My goal is very
Mm.
open. It's like I just want to be creative in whatever form
Mm.
that takes. But like we are taking steps, and that's something I saw the students were never ever taught. They were because they never had the
Mm.
confidence instilled in them that they could do something. They weren't able to
Yeah.
problem solve. They weren't able to do all these things. What about you? What made you want to sort of drop the focus a little bit on teaching and pick up making?
Well, that was a need. At first, I really needed to make stuff for my own sanity. I like to say, because that's not that teaching was very tiring, or that I got fed up with it, but just using my hands was something that I need to do, or that I wanted to do, because I've always done that since I was a kid. So I wanted to get back at it,
Yeah.
and jumping, making was not a jump, like for to say I was uh, I had to face a very simple decision a few years ago. Do you stay in Japan, keep working as you are working long hours, but with a lifestyle that you like, with a job that you love, with very good amount of money at the end of the month, and take the risk that your kid gets sick, very badly sick, because of the radiation that are in the country and in the food, because of the nuclear power plant in Fukushima blowing up a few years ago?
Hmm.
Or do you take the risk of going back to your own country, not having a job, but having a lot more time to spend with your life and your wife and your kid, and save your kid in the same process? So there was no question about that.
Yeah,
Just
that's a no-brainer, isn't it?
answer to that. Yeah, no brainer. I'll save my kid anytime, and I will do it again, like every single time.
Hmm.
So we came back to France a few years ago. No plan, absolutely no plan. So if you one day plan to quit your job, just have a B plan, plan B. It's better to have one than not have one. But we had almost nothing. I was not very worried, because I was like, yeah, with my curriculum, I should be able to find a job pretty easily, because PhD, a lot of training, a lot of experience in the job, so it should be easy.
Yeah.
Turns out that I had forgotten in 10 years that France is not Japan, and
Yeah.
teaching is not valued at the same level. Finding a job is here not as easy as it is in Japan, especially in Tokyo. So yeah, for the first year, I took it very easy. To be honest, I was searching, but not putting myself under pressure too much. I was trying to take a break, enjoy life, enjoy the time with my life, my kid, etc. So I had a lot of free time, and that was the perfect opportunity for me to make more. I was making in Japan as well during the weekend, but like here when I got back, it was like weekend every single day, so I had time to make every single day. So that was perfect. It was great. So I get back into it a little bit more and more and more, and the more I was making, the more pleasure I had to make, and I wanted to share it. So I started making YouTube videos, and people started to give me compliment about my work, and I got asked if I was selling my stuff. So I decided, well, yeah, why not? Why not? While I'm not working as a teacher because there is no job available at the moment, why not take the risk and jump off the cliff and just try to be a full-time maker or half-time maker and do that as well. So that's what I did. I took the risk, created my business last year, but I was not aware that I would have to face a world pandemic this year. So perfect timing for creating your own business. That really sucked. But yeah, I took the risk. It was totally worth it. It came with sacrifice, obviously. But I regret anything. I don't regret anything because I'm happy now. I mean, I was happy when I was teaching. I'm still happy now because I still teach on the internet, like nothing to do with YouTube or my making stuff occupation. I'm properly teaching with students and stuff. So I can still teach, make a little bit of money doing so, and the rest of the time I can make stuff, make videos, I can keep teaching what I know about leatherwork, metalwork, woodworking, or stuff like that. So that's great. I mean, as I said, it comes with sacrifice about time, money, mainly money, time, family, and stuff like that. But yeah, that's.
Well, let's talk about money, because I mean, you said you didn't have a job when you came back to France, so obviously you had some sort of savings that you had there that could allow you guys to survive in France. France is not free, so
No, it's not. It's not. So I wish it was, but it's not.
I feel that also that's a part of it. Is you can take calculated risk. So you work your ass off for a couple of years, save some money, make some smart decisions, about not blowing your money on a new car or something like this, because the end goal is for you to do this something else that's really going to mean a lot to you in the future, and possibly show your son and others that what you can achieve by setting yourself these goals and taking the risk. So I think it's valuable information to sort of understand that there is such thing as calculated risk, but either way, it can blow up in your face. And what is the worst thing that can happen?
Absolutely.
What's the worst thing that could happen for you right now? If this,
the worst thing that could happen for me right now, if this full-time, half-time maker thing wouldn't work, is to get back to teaching full-time. I mean, or get another job. It's not easy to find a job, especially right now, especially with the pandemic and everything that's going on in the world. But if it doesn't work, if my business doesn't grow, and if I'm never able to make a living out of it, I will just get back to a regular job. That's the worst that could happen, is that I get back to a job that I don't like. But that's only a few hours a week.
Yeah.
It would pay for the rent, for the food on the table, and the rest of the time I would still be with my wife, my kid, and making stuff. So it's not no big deal. I mean, it's always worth taking the risk, I think, because when you're afraid and you're not taking the risk, you are missing opportunities, so to say. I'm going to go back to Japan for just a little bit, but in 2006, when I was offered that job in Tokyo, I only had spent 11 months in Japan when I was a student. I was in a 1-year exchange program. So I spent 11 months in Japan. And basically, when you are a student over there, or when you are a tourist over there, or when you are working over there, it's completely different lifestyle. So Japan could have been very good as a student, but a total nightmare as a worker. So
Right.
I had no idea what I was getting into, but I took the risk. I took the chance to go there to try it. It was a year contract. So what was the worst thing that could happen? After 2 years, I would get back to France, and it was a good experience. And if I didn't like it, I could still back to France. And we ended up staying 10 years over there. So it was a risk worth taking. And I think it's always the case. If you want to do something, if you have the need to do something, it's worth taking the risk. If you won't die, unless the risk is jumping off a cliff, just go for it. It's better to have a plan B to cover your back. But even if you don't have, you can still go back to your previous job, to your previous situation. People who will help you. You have friends, you have family. Unless you are doing the same dumb mistake over and over and over again, in which case your friend, family will probably get fed up pretty soon and leave you alone. But no one is alone. So you have people, anyone has at least one person they can count on, and they will be helped. So if something bad happens, you have friends, family, you can go back. Just analyze the risk that you are taking. What's the worst that can happen? You asked earlier, just find another job.
And I too find, like, when you take risks, it attracts people. Like I took a risk simply to start this podcast, right?
Yeah.
And look at all the amazing people I've had on this show.
Absolutely.
Seriously, like it's amazing.
I don't remember the proper quote or citation, but if you are taking risk, it will be rewarded at some point. Just even if you are not successful, something will go out of it. Something you will gain something from it.
Always
taking the risk, even if it's just being proud of yourself from having tried. I mean, a lot of makers always talk about failure. That's part of the process. That's how do you learn? Of course it is. And taking the risk, trying it. If it fails, okay, it failed. But at least you didn't do nothing about it. You tried. And that's something just to be proud of. I mean, you've tried. You've been successful or not. It doesn't always depend on you alone. I mean, situation, the world, the weather, or I don't know. There's a lot of things to take into consideration, but just trying is the first step to succeed. And
one
success
step at a time,
is very relative.
Yeah,
one step at a time. And success doesn't mean making big bucks or being a CEO or I don't know what. Just if you're happy, if you can make a living of the things you love, being your family and spend good time, meet great people, have great conversation, exchange ideas, exchange tip, losing your breath by talking in English in a podcast at night. That's
right.
just great. I mean, that's life. That's worth living. That's what's worth trying.
Let's talk about sacrifices, because you mentioned that before. Now, I feel like there's often sacrifice with time. Money's a huge one. Like for me, family is another one, and a social life is also, another sacrifice that I've had to make to try and pursue this, especially after starting a podcast where, I use a huge amount of hours researching, talking, pre-podcasting, all that sort of stuff. Don't get me wrong, I still have a social life in some ways through the podcast, but it's still not quite the same as the face-to-face sort of stuff. But
sure,
well, let's start with time. What sort of time sacrifice have you had to make by going full time?
A lot of it. When I decided to go full time, I decided to do it properly. So I decided to do it also legally. So I had to create my own business, which meant taking a course. It was a 6 months process to create my business legally, etc., etc. So it was there was that, and all the time I was spending in the classroom to learn how a business is created, or the research I had to do was time I wasn't in a shop making stuff in order to sell them, or with the family. So yeah, definitely time was a factor at the very beginning of the process. And now I'm self-employed, which means I'm always constantly, almost all day and night, if I can say so, thinking about my business, what I can do to improve it, what I have to do. I have a endless list of stuff that I need to do for my business, like the next project, also remaking my website, and the next thing I will have to pay, like my taxes, or my the software I'm using to produce the video, or for the website, or take the picture for my new website, or making the patterns I want to sell, and stuff. So it's endless, and you have to. A lot of people have said that way better than I am trying to do so right now. But when you are self-employed, it's a full-time job. Even when you are not working, you are working, because in the back of your head there is always something that's going on. You have to plan ahead the next step, and the next project, and the next stuff you have to do for the business. I know that in one month's time I will have to pay taxes. So I will have to pay taxes, so I have to make money in order to be able to pay those taxes. I also know that in a few weeks I will have to pay for Premiere and Illustrator that I'm using almost every day, so I have to make money to pay for that, and etc. So I have to plan, I have to keep organized, I have to be disciplined. So yeah, time is absolutely a problem. I mean, it's not a problem when you're not sleeping that much. So, but yeah, I need to rest as well. So when I'm not sleeping, I try to relax by watching movies or TV show, because I'm not sleeping anyway. So I can think about business and stuff, but my mind needs to rest. So movies and TV show are a great way to do that.
It's so interesting you mentioned movies and TV shows to relax, because like I often will be in like creative mode, right? And it's 10, 11 o'clock at night. I've got to work the next day. I got to get up at 5 or 6 in the morning, but I can't go to bed because I'm wired. Like I'm wired about what I was doing, creatively. It can be as simple as making a video on the computer, or be in the garage, and I need to like wind down. So I'll often sit in front of the TV for half an hour, so I can switch my brain from that creative mode to like just, numb it with something else so that I can get in the sleepy stage to go to bed and actually sleep without continuing the creative thinking in bed.
Yeah, the only downside that I have with watching TV shows or movies at night, just to unplug my brain and get to sleep, is that I overanalyze the movies and the TV show that I'm watching, because I have also a training at the university. I have a degree in my thesis was about Japanese cinema. So I've been trained to analyze movies, TV shows, all the scenes, what it means, how it's like, and the acting and the way the director did this and that. So even when I'm watching a movie or a TV show, my mind is still working not on the business, not on the project, but on the TV show. So yeah, these days I tend to just pass out at 4 in the morning because I'm too exhausted. But yeah, but it's a great way for me. Yeah, I've been watching at least 1 or 2 movies a day since I was like 9. So there's a lot of movies I've watched many times. But I love movies. I love TV show, which are for me easiest and quickest way to get the same satisfaction that I used to get in a movie. I'm not sure if that's clear, but basically in a 2 hours movie, you can get the same result, same shoot of adrenaline and satisfaction but only in 45 minutes or 50 minutes.
Right.
And you can get it twice a day, 3 times a day, because it's a TV show. So it have a lot of episodes and stuff like that. And I'm also rewatching a lot of TV shows that I like. Once a year, I rewatch the full 5 or 6 seasons of a TV show that I like, or one I missed or that I forgot. And so yeah, I need my daily fix of movies and TV shows, especially at night.
It reminds me a little bit of what John said last week from Graz Makes, because he's a film producer, his day job, he overanalyzes everything. And so he can't watch Game of Thrones because he sees like the boom mic that came in like accidentally, or someone left a coffee cup on one of the tables, that was not, according to the set or something like that. So I definitely feel you there.
And there is also something that I discovered about myself recently watching movies and TV show. It's the maker aspect of life, of things. Like before, it was just like how they shoot that, how he's moving, what the things is taking in his hand means for the whole story. But now it's how did they make that? Did they make that prop? Would I be able to make it as well? What should I use? What would be the process? What would be the materials and stuff like that? So yeah, it's an endless story, and yeah, a few hours of sleep only every day. But that's good. I'm good.
What about family and social life? Have they been affected by you going full time into this?
I try to protect my family as much as I can. So I will, when I'm not making during the day and I'm not watching TV show or movies at night when everyone is sleeping, the rest of the time I try to spend it with my wife and my kid as much as I can, because they shouldn't be punished for my choice of leading this life, my maker life. They shouldn't be punished because this project or that project takes too long. So yeah, very important to me is to have lunch and dinner with them every single day. Spend at least at least 1 hour with my kid every night before he goes to bed. Take a walk with all of them during the weekend, or watch a movie, or take one night a week to just do a movie night or a game night, or I don't know, just spend time with them.
Quality time.
Just quality time with the family, because it can be very you can easily lose yourself into your project and get caught in your schedule, and I have to finish that for tomorrow morning. But if you finish it for the next day, what will it change? I mean, it's not going to be the end of the world. You're not going to lose the client. Your work would be probably better if you sleep on it.
And rushing it never seems to make things go better, does it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I absolutely don't want to punish my family for me being a maker, having my brain working the way it's working. They also need me. Bob Claggett, you had in the show a few episodes back, once said a few years ago, and that's something that stuck with me: I am a better maker because I am a better father. And he explained that if he's taking the time to be with your wife, with your kid, make you rest, make you a better father, and being that will reassure you that when you are in the shop, you've done your job as a father, as a husband. So they are not needing you at the moment, so you can focus on your project. It's summed up in very quickly, but that's what I got from it. So if I spend time with my family, I can be sure when I go in the shop that they won't need me, that I won't be missing anything, and that when I come out of the shop, they will be here, and we can have time together. And I won't feel guilty of not being with them all day long. That kind of stuff. But that family is something I really, really want to preserve, protect. They don't have to be punished or suffer from my lifestyle or my choices. That's something pretty important for me.
I experienced this week, with the Fools with Tools treasure trade. I was under time pressure to get it in the post. I literally had half an hour before the post office closed. Got it in there.
Yeah,
sent it off. I did it. But, that came with sacrifice, and that was my son. My son really needed me. He needed me. But I said to him, I will promise you next weekend I will, spend the time with you. But him being 5 years old, that's too far away. And I felt so incredibly guilty for being, what I thought at the time was like a bad father. For pushing my son away so that I could do work.
I hear you.
For something that realistically I probably could have sent an email to Ellen and said hey, didn't actually get this finished on time. I'm sending it as soon as possible. But of course, he's still you know what I mean.
Oh, I totally understand. When my kid was 1 year, it was just a few weeks before his first birthday, so he was not one yet. I decided to make him a big wooden plane, a big plane he could sit in and pretend to be flying. So I spent days working on this big wooden plane, and I was in the garden making it, and he was in the living room at the window watching me work. And I was waving at him from time to time when I was taking a break, and I was working on it. And my motivation was, I want to make him the best wooden plane ever made, because that's my son, that's his first birthday. I want to make a good, nice present gift. But what I realized later was that my kid was at the window not watching me building the plane. He was calling me because he wanted me to go inside the house, and he wanted to play with me and just be with me. So all the time I spent working on this wooden airplane would probably have would have been better spent better spent time, well spent time, if I would have been just playing with my kid in the living room. I mean, and that's a challenge I decided by myself. I challenged myself to do this airplane, but looking back at it, I would have made a really small, shitty airplane. It would have been happy all the same, and we would have spent like 20 or 30 hours more together playing, and it would have been better. So now he's 6, and he understands that now it's part of my job, that making things or giving classes online is my job. So he's always willing to help. He's always here in the workshop with me. And he comes and ask if he can help punching holes into leather or dye leather or do stuff, and I'm happy to let him do so. And sometimes he appears in my videos helping me, but he also now understand a little bit better that it's my job, it's commission work. So I need to finish it today because I have to ship it tomorrow. But I try to make up for it, and just like you said, like tomorrow I won't work. Tomorrow we have a movie night, or we will play together, because I don't want to be this kind of dad working like countless hours and not taking care of my kid. That's my kid. I won't be here for him. I want to spend time with him, and he's incredibly curious about what I do, the tools I use, and he wants to learn, and he wants to use them as well. So I have no doubt that he will make stuff when he's older. He wants to go in the forge with me. He wants to learn how to forge. He wants to learn leatherworking as well. So for me, that's the big victory. He's a bit young to be in the forge with me, but it will come. That day will come. We'll forge together, and that's great. I can't wait for that day.
Yeah.
But also I want him to grow slowly, because he's already 6 years old. I mean, he will leave the house soon. I want to enjoy the time we have together. I mean, yeah.
I think that's the big balance there, is the family stuff. You know, I think there are so many adults out there now that had shit dads that didn't give them the time they needed, and I just don't want to be one of those.
And for the social life, because that the last aspect of it, I'm not very a social guy. I mean, I don't go out often. The only time before the pandemic and all that shit, the only time I go out of the house is to go to the hardware store or to the cinema or to the grocery store. So that's basically it. So it didn't change much from the social life. The only thing that can change is that you can, for me, in my experience, is that I gained or lost friends.
Yeah.
Because some people just can't understand that you choose this path of being a maker, being a full-time maker, and selling stuff that you made with your hands. Or dare you say, I prefer it to buy it from a factory or a robot, doesn't make sense. So sometimes you lose friends, but I also gained a lot of friends. I mean, I met a lot of people, just as you were saying earlier, at Maker Central, in real life and online, and some of them became real friends and close friends. So that's also something you take into consideration, because that's not the motivation for being a maker or going full time. It can't be a motivation, because friends don't pay you rent. But that's what's very, very that's what's amazing with this community, is the few real friends that I made along the way. Some people I would never had a chance to meet if I haven't been a maker or made YouTube video. And now I know I talk with them almost every day. And yeah, they know who they are, and I love them.
That's so awesome. Red, we're going to wrap this up by going into the rapid fire 5.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Always ready.
All right.
What a shitty answer. I could have said ready is my second name, but it's not. Now, how do you say that in movies? Ready is my middle name.
I'm not sure I've ever heard that. But anyway.
Yeah, okay. Hit me.
All right. Fill in the blank. Creativity is
hard. Creativity is hard. That's not something you can order or get on demand. It will hit you when you expect it less. In the shower, watching a movie or dinner, you have a brilliant idea. But when you're in the shop and you are searching for one, it won't come.
No, that's right. I mean, yeah.
So it's hard.
It's an elusive son of a bitch.
Yeah. It's absolutely awesome. It's brilliant. It's enjoyable, but it's hard.
What's something people get wrong about you?
Probably that I look like I don't care, but I do. So yeah, I probably care a lot more than people think I do by watching me or listening to me. I mean, there's a few people in the world that I really care about, at the point that I can get sick for them, that I can get angry at them because I'm scared for them, or that kind of stuff. So it's just a way I express my love without showing any of this to them, because when I'm with them or talking to them, I try to be just like a normal guy. But when I'm on my own, I care probably too much, and I look like I don't. Maybe something like that.
I think
because I'm French, I'm French. So people tend to think that French people don't care, very like how is it called, nonchalant, like they smoke cigarette and they drink alcohol because they don't care, and nothing is important, and so for me some things and people are very important, and that's probably part of my Japanese education. That's stuff I got along the way before I go to Japan, before I went to Japan, and for the years I spent over there. So something like, let's go with it.
All right, well, we're done with that. What's your favorite thing to do when you're not being creative?
Movies, TV show. I like sleeping, but it's kind of
it's overrated. Don't worry about sleep.
No, movies and TV show. I've talked a lot about that earlier, but TV. When I'm not creative, I'm watching something. Because it nourishes me, it brings me creativity, and it keeps my mind busy. Because if it's not busy, it's going to weird and bad places sometimes.
What's a project that is completely priceless that you would never sell?
The first set of leather armor I made, when my wife told me, when we are going to medieval fair and stuff like that, you're always spending a lot of time to the leather booth, touching leather, watching tools and stuff like that. You should get some. You should try it. And I said, yeah, probably, but I'm busy. So she bought me a few tools, a book, and some leather, and I started like that. The first project was a bracer, a van brace, That was my very first, and my second one was a full set of leather armor inspired from the game Skyrim. It was the Nightingale armor. It's on a mannequin over there, and it took me months to make. It's all original work. I made my own pattern. All the pieces are hand cut, punched, and hand stitched together. There's a lot of parts. It's to my size, and that's something that's my second leather project. My first full set of armor. Something I will never sell, or I will keep it in the family as long as I can. Pass it to my kid and tell him, don't sell it, don't lose it, don't damage it. You can wait, try to keep it, please.
The last question: what does happiness look like?
Oh man, that's the big one. It looks like the face of my wife and my kids smiling at me, something like that. It sounds cheesy, but yeah, what can I say? Okay, the perfect picture of happiness would be a sunset, a barbecue, my wife, my kid, a few friends, a workbench, a lot of materials and tools, and an evening like that with my family, my friends, and making stuff with nice weather and French food, probably.
Love it. It makes me remind me of like this thing my school friend used to say, like when he had a really good day, he used to say something like, this is awesome. To make this day the best day, all I need is a pizza, a beer, and a blowjob.
Yeah.
And then it makes me think about like that's what happiness looks like.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's simple things. I mean, personally, I don't need big things. I don't care for a big car, big house, a lot of money. I want the people that I love to be close to me, to be here. Food is important, so good food is important. Making is important. So yeah, barbecue and workbench with project and family and friends, and I'm good for anything.
Love it. All right, guys. Well, that's the end of this podcast. I hope you guys got something from it. We talked about teaching and the importance of teaching. I think, we've all experienced bad teaching, and I hope you guys can sort of get inspired to teach people and go out there and be active teacher in the world, because you'll make a difference. You all know something that someone else doesn't, so please share your knowledge with people.
Yeah,
and make sure too, like, you're not scared of taking risks. Red's jumping in and doing his thing, and I'm trying to do mine, and we're all trying to do something we've dreamed of or are dreaming of doing, and that doesn't come without risk. And I want to just encourage you guys to take those little steps, like take them one at a time, and see what happens. And like we said before, without risk, there's no reward. So I encourage you guys, if you want to try something, if you want to start a business, if you just want to just maybe make a YouTube video, or even just like a 1 minute, Instagram video or something. Maybe you're scared to put yourself on camera. Like, take the risk, try it. Film a little Snapchat or Instagram story if that's what it takes to start it off. So, I want to thank my guest, but before I thank my guest, I want to say thank you to you all. This is probably the last episode for a while. As I explained in previous episodes, I'll be taking an extensive break from the podcast. It might be a Bob Claggett brain pick sort of break. I hope not. I hope it's less than 4 years. But, I'm going to focus on what I feel I really do best, and that's being creative with my hands. What I would love from you guys all is to go back and listen to previous guests you're not familiar with. There's a reason why I had them on the show, and that's because they have amazing stories. They have points of view that will not only get you thinking differently, which is always good, right? But, hopefully they'll inspire the crap out of you and potentially change your life. If that's not inspiring enough for you, then you can just go back and listen to the evolution of this podcast. I mean, where I started this podcast off to where it is now, I tried new things. Some things bombed, some things did well. I mixed it up. I tried new formats. I tried different types of guests. I tried a lot of stuff, and I even stumbled over my words throughout all these podcasts, and I still made 52 episodes. So I want you guys to go back, have a listen, and thanks for the clap, Red. The silent clap. Yeah, clap. See, I do stumble over my words.
Less than me. No, but you did a great job. You took risk, and you did an absolutely great job. If you're taking a hopefully quick break, that's totally understandable. I was honored to be the last guest for now. So thank you for the opportunity, and I hope you will get back to making more episodes with more people, so we can discover more makers and learn a lot more from them. Anyway.
Thanks, Red. I'm so grateful for all my amazing guests that decided to take a risk and come on my show. I even listened to Lindsay Murphy. She said on another podcast, that it was like therapy being on my podcast. And
it is.
What? I'll take it as a compliment, because if I can do that for people, then imagine if I kept on doing this in the future, what I can also achieve. And I think I'm just grateful for everyone listening. Grateful for all my guests, and I just want to say thank you to all my Patreons as well. You guys stuck in there and supported me, and I hope you guys will support me still with my Garage Avenger stuff as well. Just one last thing, Red, where can people find you, mate?
So it's on YouTube. It's Red Smith. It used to be The Red Smith, but now it's Red Smith. And on Instagram, Facebook, Patreon, and my website, it's The Red Smith everywhere. So just Google The Red Smith. Would find me easily. The logo is very easy to find. It's a round black circle with an R and an S in it. So yeah, if you see that, it's me.
Awesome. I hope you guys got something from this episode. And if you're not following Red, please go do that now. There'll be links in the show notes. Until next time, guys, which could be a while, keep pushing yourself, keep ballsing up things, keep learning, get inspired, and I'll catch you on the flip side. There we go. We're out, man. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
I'm tearing up here.
Yeah, but I understand why. It's normal. You did a great job. Do you realize you did 52 episodes of podcast on your own with all the work that it requires? Man, that's not something everyone can do.